Hello and welcome to Cecil Weekly. I'm your host, Rob Churnside. And tonight is a very special night for Cecil Weekly. It's Metal Night. But before we get started, I want to know this. Cecil County and the world, are you ready to rock?
No streets today but in this place. You'll live your own hands out without peace.
And yes, it is Metal Night. And we have with us here two of the members from the up-and-coming Cecil County metal band, Liam and Jason. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
So, how did you get the name Sycamyre, the name of your band?
I came up with it in high school, and we were just starting the band, and I was thinking of words that basically just sounded cool. And one of the first ones that came to me was sycamore, like the tree, and I was like, oh, I like that a lot, but it just wasn't quite there. So at first I just changed the O to a Y, and it was Sycamyre, and that's really, it's like the name isn't as cool as it sounds. It's just we just came up with it. But
I like it.
Over time, we came up with like a deeper meaning to it, and it's kind of a synthesis between the word sycamore and mire, which is like a swamp. So when you take the two words and put them together, you have the visual of a tree, like a big sycamore tree, a strong tree, coming out of a mire, a swamp. So you kind of have this visual of something beautiful and strong coming out of something dark and, you know, not so beautiful. So it's kind of like the imagery makes me think of something beautiful rising out of something
cool.
Yeah, something not so cool. So
And I should add for our viewers that these are not just two of the members of Sycamyre. They are the total band.
Yep.
So what is your instrumentation?
I play drums.
You play drums. As do I. Beautiful instrument.
Very beautiful.
I am the guitar player and the singer.
Kind of like the White Stripes.
That's exactly right, yeah, basically.
And you write your own material?
Yeah, I've been the songwriter. We've had multiple lineups. We've gone through like we've been 3-piece and we've been a 4-piece before, but now we're down to 2. And throughout that whole like process of the lineup changes and whatnot, I've always been the songwriter.
So you probably have maybe a CD's worth of stuff. Do you have a CD?
Yes, we have a CD. We made our debut album. We wrote and recorded through probably like 2013 through 2015. We spent a long time on that first album, and those are basically, we're both 20 years old, and those were basically the songs we wrote in high school. So that's kind of how I look back at that CD, and there's 11 songs on it, and like I said, we released it in like the September of 2015.
Well,
It's the glory days of Sycamyre.
Yeah.
the glory days of Sycamyre. Well, I would say the glory days are not yet to come. They're on the horizon. And I should add, you guys said you went to Rising Sun High School?
That's right.
Where our guest from last week, Sam Anderson, was an English teacher at the time?
That's it.
Well, I know he's going to have good lyrics then.
Yeah.
We both studied under him.
So, as another drummer, do you practice a lot by yourself, or you just play together, or how does that
I
work?
like to practice as much with Liam. It seems to, make all our songs a lot more tighter. Helps me get more creative behind our songs when they're made.
Sure.
But yeah, I do practice by myself plenty.
All the paradiddles and all that stuff.
Of course.
Yeah, you got to do that stuff. Did you ever march in?
No.
Marching band?
I actually, growing up, kind of thought that was a little geeky. But, I never started band. I actually got into orchestra and played the stand-up bass. But as far as drum lessons, it was all self-taught. I took some college and took drum lessons there, but that's it. So everything else is self-taught.
So you gravitated towards the drums, Jason.
Yeah.
And Liam, how did you start with the guitar? Or?
He's a damn good drummer too.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, I started with guitar when I was, I think, eight years old. It's a funny thing because when I was a kid, I would kind of go through a lot of phases, and I told my parents I wanted a guitar around that age, and they were all like, okay, here's gonna be another phase. So they bought me some cheap guitar, and to their surprise, I just never put it down, and it became like my biggest passion and pastime and everything. So I've been playing guitar Like seriously, I started taking lessons probably at 10, and then took private lessons up until I was maybe 16, maybe younger, but been playing ever since. So about 10 years worth.
Cool. Now I know Cecil.tv's Sequoia actually filmed you guys at a recent show at Gracie's, and we're going to see that tonight.
Awesome.
Are you doing original music, I guess, at Gracie's?
Yep.
Yes, that was the whole set.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, how can people contact you and book you? Do you have, before we get it, do you have gigs coming up somewhere else?
Yeah, we have one gig booked at the Fish Head Cantina in Baltimore at a festival called Loud Fest. It's a 2-day festival over a whole weekend. It's on, I believe it's on April 29th and 30th. We're playing on the 29th. There's going to be a lot of great bands there. And we're also working on booking some more gigs in April, maybe March at the Baltimore Soundstage. So we got some things in the works.
Nice. That sounds great. Well, contact information, because our viewers want to know. They want you at your house this summer. How do people get in touch?
Sycamyre.com.
Sycamyre.com on the screen.
And we have a Facebook page that I would encourage everyone watching this to check out. Just look up Sycamyre on Facebook, give us a like, it helps out a lot. And we recently just made an Instagram page. So if you want to see some pictures of we've been posting or whatever, take a look at the Instagram too.
Awesome. Well, let's roll the film, because we're ready to rock. Thank you, gentlemen.
We are too.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And yes, it is metal night, and the metal is getting hotter and even more molten because we have my good friend and former neighbor, Cecil County metal worker / musician, Matt Harris. Matt, welcome to Cecil.tv and Cecil Weekly.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Hey, we're glad to have you here. And not only we have you here, but we also have you on film because we went to your studio earlier and did some filming of you actually working in your studio.
Yes.
Where is that metalworking studio?
The studio is located at Principio Ironworks. It's an old historic site, and it was in operation from 1720 to 1920. And I'm the first thing that's happened there since 1920. So.
Wow. So you actually operate in a historical building that was there back in the day when it was an ironworks, I guess.
Yes, I operate out of what used to be an old wagon shed, and it was all but falling down when I came there, and I renovated it in exchange for studio space because it's quite loud when we're working, so I couldn't do that just anywhere. So.
Well, I know from when we were there, it would be loud because there's a lot of banging, and I counted 156 hammers at least that you have all over the place. It's amazing.
Yeah, it takes a lot of tools, a lot of equipment to produce the work that we do. It's a really wide variety of work that comes out of the studio. So most of what we do is either architectural in nature. We do a lot of gates and railings custom made for houses and businesses. And then my real passion is sculpture. And I've pursued that as much as possible over the years and build up the sculpture side of the studio as well. So.
And you actually have some sculptures out in the land around the studio.
Yes, there are some completed works in front of the studio. Most of those I showed at a one-man exhibit at Ladue Gardens last year, and have some other exhibits in the works.
Well, I know, Matt, that you were the person that created Cecil County's first public sculpture, Hammer and Heart, in Elkton, Maryland, in front of the circuit court.
That is correct, yeah.
That's a huge sculpture.
Yeah, it's quite large. It's 17 foot tall and weighs just under a ton. and it was the first major public sculpture work in Cecil County.
And that was a dedication to your mentor.
Yes, it was part of the community garden that exists in front of the courthouse there, but the design of it and the inspiration came from some elements. The bottom of it's kind of a sweeping curve, pulling from a sail-like form and tying into the bay. And the top of it features a really large stainless steel heart, which was one of the jewelry designs from my mentor, Al Molenschott. I apprenticed with him, and he taught me the craft of blacksmithing, really began my whole career.
And I had a chance, your dad works with you in your studio.
Yes.
And there's another fellow.
Yeah, I have another young guy, Andrew, with me in the studio, and then my wife is full-time in the office. So there's 4 of us total.
It's a big operation.
Yeah,
Now,
we've grown a little bit.
In talking with your dad, he said that through Al, you got what's called a European apprenticeship. Could you explain that a little bit to our viewers?
Yeah, that's something that's very uncommon, especially here in the U.S. But what I did was I served a full apprenticeship, 3.5 years full time, which is almost the equivalent of going to 4 years of college. That included studies in design because Al was a industrial designer for DuPont, and that also plays into the artwork that we designed together. And then, of course, blacksmithing and welding, a lot of different disciplines. When I was done serving that apprenticeship with him, he gave me what's called traditional apprenticeship papers, which are, there's actually 2. One's kind of more of like a certificate that you would imagine, and the other one's a very traditional European thing called working papers, which was basically kind of a resume of my apprenticeship and all the things that I had learned.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And I can recall when you were younger actually going to Al's studio, I guess off Ebenezer Church Road or somewhere.
Yes.
And you were working in his, working in the forge, in his shop there. I bought something and it still works today. It's great. It's a wrought iron lamp that's adjustable and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And then lo and behold, you became my neighbor a few years later. I saw you playing the guitar out there on the lawn, and I kind of pieced this together and said, well, we have to get Matt on the show for Metal Night. So we're really glad you're here. I know you're going to play some songs in the near future, but a couple more questions. When you worked and we were there filming,
Yes.
what were you doing, what were you making, and how hot was that fire?
I was forging, which is hammering, both on a power hammer and by hand, some elements, some smaller pieces of a larger sculpture. And like a lot of my sculptural work is kind of inspired by nature and rhythms and movements of migratory birds and fish and even leaves just trailing down out of a tree. The pieces that I was hammering when you were there, they were kind of abstract, and some of that work was done on a very large industrial power hammer. And then some of it's done, by hand at the anvil, just like a blacksmith's always done.
And that anvil, I think that we filmed, how much does it weigh?
That is a 650-pound anvil, so.
Set it, forget it, right?
Yeah, right, 1/3 of a ton.
Now, the fire that you heat the metal in, how hot is that about?
Well, we can get up to what's called forge welding temperature, which is almost where the metal is melting. That's 2,200 degrees. What you saw when you were at the studio was around 2,000 degrees. So white hot.
Unbelievable. How can people contact you? Say if they wanted something made, some wrought iron, or you explain what wrought iron really is and what it isn't nowadays, but if they wanted iron railings or steel, work around their house or something, how would somebody get in touch with you?
Well, the main way is through our website, harrismetalsmith.com. We also have a Facebook page, Harris Metalsmith Studio, which is the name of our business. And through either of those, you can give us a call or email. But yeah, as far as what wrought iron work is, a lot of things are called that nowadays that aren't truly that, but the term and the meaning is to wrought something is to work it. So that literally means to hammer. So we take this cold bar of metal, heat it up in the fire and we hammer it. So we work it, and that's, hammering that bar. So that's one of the greatest things that I love about the work is you can take something that's kind of lifeless and meaningless, just a straight bar of iron, and through this, process of heating it and hammering it, you can make it into a shape that lasts forever.
And I personally have seen some amazing stuff that you've created and brought to life. The public, Cecil County, can also maybe, if it works out, come see your studio the weekend of Mother's Day with the Cecil County Arts Council's tour, if that works out, if that's in the works?
Yes, we're working to be included in the Cecil County Arts Council Open Studio Tour, which is that Saturday of the weekend of Mother's Day.
That would be great. That would be great. Well, Matt, I think it's time that you maybe play some music and round out Metal Night.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Where do you go when the money is dry and the friends are few? Where do you run in dark hours of life when you've done all that you can do? Well, life can be good and bad both at the same time. Everything can be running smooth and then you hit a wall that you can't climb. Lord, I run to you and I lay myself at your feet, for your grace is enough. You're all that I need. I've seen sunny days I thought would never end, but then the storm came and the clouds rolled in, and I thought all hope was lost. You remind me I'm never alone, no, no. Lord, I run to you and I lay myself at your feet. Your grace is enough for all that I need. I run to you, yeah. I run to you. This next song I'm going to do, to kind of put it in context, this is kind of a sad song, and it was written after the loss of a really dear friend who died kind of tragically and unexpectedly, and it's called Hey Friend. Hey friend, I sure miss you. I'm thinking over the times we had and the words that were said, and I miss you. Hey friend, why did you go away? I'm thinking over the times we had and the words that were said, and I miss you. Hey friend, I sure miss you. I know I'm not the only one. So many lives you touch and we miss you. What I hope I had those laugh like only you can do. I hope to see you again. I hope to see you again. Hey friend, I sure miss you. I'm thinking over the times we had and the words that were said, and I miss you. Hey friend, I'm not the only one who misses you. We're thinking over the times we had and the words that were said,